I actually, instead of doing that, I want to actually responding to your email, Carlos. Yeah, last time you email us that you address concerns that there have been a sort of policy deficit within these 2 decades. Yeah, because last time our country profile in our country profile Indonesia, um, we only
Silakan di
mentioned
copy ya.
that the regulations about telecommunication from 1999, so it was already over 20 years. Yeah, so I want to give some updates about regulations, because precisely these sessions, it is called policy dialogue. I understand that on Monday afternoon we are talking about regulation. It is very not an ideal time to do it. Yeah, so please don't fall asleep at the back. Yeah, up. Yeah, so you and I want to talk about it. So it's giving you an update. Your activities, like for example reselling bandwidths to contribute to less end user legal, yeah, and what kind of a policy that the government has to support a community network, not networks, for example. So I have prepared a presentation, 10 slides, just to give you an orientation. It's a very boring, dual and plain presentation, but let us focus now on the content. Yeah. Next, yeah. Okay. I have two concerns. Ya, saya punya dua kegelisahan. Ya, pertama adalah tentang kebijakannya itu sendiri, peraturannya. Apakah ada peraturan dari tingkat undang-undang, peraturan pemerintah atau peraturan kementerian, ya, yang misalkan akan mendorong, mensupport atau menghambat kegiatan teman-teman di desa. Ya, first about the regulations. Ya, is there any updates there? And secondly, duitnya dari mana? Ya, duit kalau Ustaz Yusuf Mansur kan gitu, duitnya dari mana kalau kalian mau bikin kegiatan-kegiatan tuh, where's the money comes from? Ya, jadi yang kedua adalah funding sustainability. Ya, how to make your activities sustainable. Next. Okay, yeah. Perhaps you can, yeah. This is the regulations in the past that were valid about telecommunication. The first one, Undang-Undang 3699 tentang telekomunikasi. Second one is Peraturan Pemerintah Number 52 2000 on telecommunication services, which covers actually 3 kinds of telecommunication operations. Yang pertama jaringan, yang kedua adalah layanan, yang ketiga yang dinamakan khusus, ya, layanan khusus, operations, penyelenggaraan telekomunikasi khusus.
Jam berapa?
Ya.
Start jam 6.
Who may the article the article number 4 states actually the operators who may operate those kinds of services. Yang A dan B, ya, number A and B can be operated by state-owned enterprise or regional state-owned enterprise, jadi BUMN ataupun BUMD, or private enterprise, swasta, cooperation or kooperasi. Yeah, but the regulations doesn't mention village-owned enterprise, for example. Why? Because the village law didn't exist at the time. Yeah, and C, who may operate it, individuals or government agencies, ya, instansi pemerintahan, or other legal entities, ya, badan hukum lain, ya. It's not very specific other legal entities, but we can assume that communities or organizations may also cover this, ya. And then another important point is that in those regulations, law number 36 and government decree number 52, no single article mentioning about reselling telecommunication services. So jadi kalau kalian mau menjual kembali seperti yang dilakukan Kang Didi di Cilacap dan teman-teman di Cipta Gelar, itu nggak ada aturannya. Ya, di situ di kedua aturan itu, baik itu undang-undang ataupun PP itu nggak mengatakan itu di dalam pasal-pasalnya ya. But it is only mentioned in the explanation of telecommunication network operations, hanya ada di pasal-pasal di penjelasannya, bagian penjelasan ya. Tapi itu juga bukan dalam bentuk jualan seperti yang Kang Dede di Cilacap, no ya. It's only like kind of internet cafe or telecenters ya. So very limited. So what do we have now? Ya, after 20 years ya. Jadi setelah 20 tahun, 2 dekade itu what do we have now? Ya. Precisely 20 years later, we have a very controversial law which is called Omnibus Law. Ya, jadi undang-undang omnibus yang kita tahu is very controversial law which revised actually next. Yeah, okay. A very controversial law which supports actually the job creation and infestation, investor, and also heavily criticized by, for example, students and human rights activists, environment activists, and also workers' union, because Omnibus Law deregulates many other laws, yeah, and it covers more than 80 laws and 1,200 articles, including the telecommunications law from 1999. And the second one is government, so its derivative regulation from the Omnibus Law is the government decree number 46/2021 on post telecommunication and broadcasting, which includes actually explicitly in Article 31 about resale of telecommunication service. Ya, jadi tahun 2021 ya, tentang jual beli kembali jasa layanan internet itu sudah diatur di dalam pasal tersendiri. Dulu nggak ada, Kang Dede itu nggak boleh ilegal jual-jual begitu. Ya, sekarang boleh jual kembali. Ya, ada di pasal 31. Pasal 31 di apa namanya ini peraturan pemerintah 46 tahun 2021 boleh ya. And then the Ministry of Communication Information or Informatics issue a regulation on standards for business activities and product standards bla bla bla. Namanya di situ adalah klasifikasi baku lapangan usaha Indonesia or Indonesian Standards for Business Field Classification, which classifies actually the business of reselling services. Ya, jadi sudah ada klasifikasi bakunya ya di dalam KLBI 61994. Ya, jadi boleh sekarang resell. But how can we do it? Gimana caranya? How is the mechanism? Ya, apakah mengatur itu tidak? So let us take a closer look at each of these regulations. The first one is the Omnibus Law, Article 71, which actually talks about the revisions of law on telecommunication from 1999. So next slide, please. Nah, jadi teman-teman bisa lihat bahasa Indonesianya yang sebelah kanan ya. Saya sengaja ini word for word dari aturan itu sendiri. So and then translation and the English on the left side ya. Jadi kita bisa berkonsentrasi bahwa ini ditentukan di sini revisi dari Undang-Undang Telekomunikasi tahun 99 pasal 30 itu dituliskan begini ya. Ketentuan ini dimaksudkan untuk mengatasi masalah kebutuhan jasa telekomunikasi di suatu daerah yang karena keadaan tertentu belum dapat dijangkau oleh jasa telekomunikasi. Betul kan? Banyak sekali blank spot, terutama di sini juga, di Tembok juga sama, Desa Lapeng juga sama, banyak belum. Tapi ini sekarang diatur boleh gitu, undang-undang ini menentukan itu. Oleh karena itu, undang-undang ini memandang perlu untuk memberikan kemungkinan kepada penyelenggara telekomunikasi khusus yang sebenarnya hanya bergerak untuk kepentingan sendiri dapat memberikan pelayanan jasa telekomunikasi kepada masyarakat yang bertempat tinggal di daerah tersebut. So it is now allowed, ya. It's regulated. It is now allowed in the revision of the Law Number 36/1999. So telecommunication services in area which due to certain conditions cannot be reached by telecommunication services. Yeah. So okay. Next, the government decree number 46. Yeah. So I call this opportunities. Jadi bahwa ada peluang-peluang sekarang untuk teman-teman melakukan bisnis jual kembali. Ya, karena peraturan-peraturan sekarang memungkinkan itu. Ya. Oke. Artikel number 31 pasal 31 on the resale of telecommunication services. Jadi dia pasalnya memang khusus untuk jual beli. Ya, tentang jual beli sudah ada. Bahkan ada juga tentang IoT kalau nggak salah. Sudah diatur juga ya di dalam KLBI itu. Ya, jadi boleh. Number 5 for example, ya resale peso. This is the requirements ya. One of the questions that arise is actually, do we need a special license for community networks? Yeah, but the decree says that actually no. Yeah, but you need number 5 based on cooperation agreement with ISP. Ya, jadi harus ada bentuk kerjasamanya MOU with ISP seperti yang sudah dilaksanakan oleh teman-teman Cipta Gelar dengan Awinet. Ya, jadi Kang Dede kalau mau melegalisasi itu boleh, tapi memang harus ada kerjasamanya dengan ISP. Ya, kita seringkali berlindung di balik mungkin ini untuk eksperimen, mungkin ini untuk tujuan riset, untuk tujuan pembelajaran for learning purposes, ya. But actually, if you have an agreement with ISP, yeah, without having a special license for community networks, it is actually allowed. Yeah. And number 6, yeah, if you have any problems with that, yeah, the Minister of Communication and Information actually should facilitate. Jadi mereka harus memfasilitasi, atau menteri harus memfasilitasi the resale operation of telecommunication services. Ya, unfortunately kita nggak tahu gimana caranya minta menteri itu membantu kita, ya kan, jauh banget dari kita ke menteri cik atau Pak bantuannya tolong bantuin kita, ya kan, nggak begitu caranya gitu ya. But ya, so in the Article 6 it says here that the service by the minister is required in the event that, among other things, the unavailability of network infrastructure and or telecommunication services in a service area. So artinya menteri memang harus membantu kalau memang tidak ada jaringan di daerah-daerah itu, ya. So sekarang caranya bagaimana? Ya, ini juga di bawah penjelasannya adalah, for example, the result of internet access services they are not yet accessible to communities in certain areas. So menteri membantunya dengan cara next, ya, mengeluarkan lagi kebijakan yang lain, ya, aturan yang lain, ya. So minister helps in the form of other regulations, ya, which is the regulation of the Ministry of Communication and number 3 2021 on standards for business activities and product standards. It is here regulated, ya. Di sini ada jasa jual kembali jasa telekomunikasi, which is a resale services of the telecommunication services. Business actors are individuals or non-individuals. So if you gather in the form of, for example, communities or BUMDes, village-owned enterprise, it is actually covered in this regulation. And see, what do you need? You need agreement, cooperation, ya, yang di bawah reselling telecommunication service is an activity of reselling telecommunication service through cooperation. Jadi memang harus ada kerjasama dengan ISP-nya itu sendiri. Bukan tidak boleh, tapi harus legal, ada bentuk kerjasamanya. Ya, so this is next. So very small, but basically this is an explanation of KLBI 61994 yang menyatakan bahwa the resale of telecommunication services, what the explanations, the scale usaha mikro, ya, scale is micro.
Terima kasih.
Luas lahan, covering area is not exactly regulated here, ya. And perizinan berusaha, license, ya, dia menggunakan sertifikat standar or standard certificate, but not really exactly, like community license, but only standard license. And then also persyaratan perizinan usaha, is there any requirements for business? None, ya, jadi tidak ada sama sekali di sini. So what is the challenge here? If the regulations at the community networks, the license has been exempted for it, do we still need special license for community networks? For example, accessing other funds possibilities, like for example USF atau USO ya dari Bakti. Kalau kita mau akses duit dari Bakti, apakah kita butuh lisensi untuk internet komunitas atau tidak? Ya. Nah, pertanyaan yang lain, apakah memang Bakti ya yang uangnya itu dari USO itu memang punya alokasi dana khusus untuk komunitas atau tidak? Ya. Does Bakti have a special allocation for community networks or no? Yeah. So I want you or philanthropy, German terms, maybe, maybe give us, as a comparison, so how it is in other countries, yeah, in Argentina, in Kenya, or in Canada, for example. How do those communities access USF? Yeah, do they have a special license or no? Yeah, so we can learn from them. And then another challenge is about, of course, sustainability. Yeah, providing or ensuring commitment from the villages or the community is not an easy task. Ya, jadi memastikan bahwa teman-teman sekarang di sini yang mengelola industri, saraya dan lain sebagainya, yang mengelola kegiatan-kegiatan sekarang 5 tahun ke depan masih mengelola itu lagi atau tidak? Ya, harus punya komitmen. Ya, gimana kalau kita sudah lagi punya aktivitas lain nggak punya komitmen, apalagi pemerintahan desa, ya. Jadi, so ensuring that village or community, rural communities or other communities that they prioritize, the development of digital technology, internet is also not an easy task. Why? Another challenge is also the funding. Yeah, funds. We know that the village funds currently is also limited. That each village only has like 30%, 32%, after limited by other expenses, to actually allocate their funds to their own for their own priority. And normally digital technology or internet is not the priority of the village. Yeah, that's also another problem. So how do we finance the activity in the community? So this is the last slide. So, jadi enaknya ini terakhir ya. Terima kasih sudah ada di sini bareng-bareng. Nah, urusan duit. Actually we have an opportunity. Ya, the regulation of the Kominfo 2015 regulates. Jadi ada sebetulnya Bakti itu mengalokasikan dana untuk komunitas. Oh, next please. Untuk komunitas, ya, Pak Ono sebentar ya, ngomong naon. Ya. Mengalokasikan untuk komunitas. Yang pertama adalah the provision of ICT infrastructure and also ICT ecosystem, which includes also the capacity building. Ya. Who can propose it? Basically, every government agencies from the national until the lowest level of the government administrations, and also can be proposed by, this is the lowest unit, by dinamakan organisasi masyarakat atau ormas, so we can call it perhaps civil society organizations, not specifically mentioning or exactly mentioning community or kata komunitas or even BUMDes, but the possibility is there ya, untuk kalian, untuk kita semua mengakses dana itu ke Bakti. Bahkan di dalam lampiran akhirnya itu ada formatnya, ya, kita menulis gitu, ada formatnya, jadi kita tinggal memasukkan saja dan diarahkan kepada direktorat, pokoknya pada kementerian gitu, ya. And we want to hear also examples from other countries, how the communities there accessing universal service funds. I think that's it. Ya, this is the last slide. I hope it is understandable, mudah-mudahan dapat dimengerti ya. Saya tahu bicara tentang, untuk saya sendiri bicara tentang polisi kebijakan itu bukan hal yang mudah ya, tapi paling tidak the general message is pesan umumnya adalah ada pilihan atau kemungkinan funding dari pemerintah untuk mendanai kegiatan-kegiatan teman-teman di wilayahnya masing-masing selain dari yang sudah disediakan oleh Common Room dan kawan-kawan begitu ya. Tapi itu lagi-lagi kita memerlukan cara yang lebih mudah untuk mengaksesnya. Bagaimana caranya, itu kerja kita nanti ke depan lagi untuk mempermudah itu ya, secara komunikatif mungkin dengan modul dan lain sebagainya untuk akses itu. Terima kasih, hatur nuhun, gracias, selamat sore. Yang mudah-mudahan kita bisa berdiskusi lagi. Ya, terima kasih.
Alright, thank you, Kang Ibek, Ibu Ida. I think 2 opening remarks from Ibu Ida and Kang Ibek can navigate our further discussions on community networks, how to provide first legal connectivity. Secondly, affordable. Thirdly, safe. And the last but not least is the meaningful connectivity, which I think is a bit of challenge here in Indonesia. In Indonesia, even though that in regulation context, there are already an opportunity that we can do a legal foundation on the provisions of internet service for rural areas and remote places, but learning from the experience in Ciptaglar village, for example, we have tried to comply with existing regulations to resell internet service by making official cooperations with an ISPs that has a legal licenses, but in fact, from our end, we still see that the budget that are needed to be allocated to buy the bandwidth and internet service are still relatively expensive, because we also have to pay taxes. How much is the tax? Like 11%. You can imagine every month in Ciptaglar village, somehow we can have a revenue from the selling of internet voucher in around, how much is it? Like 150 something. 150 million rupiah, in which is around $1,000 a month, and we have to allocate 11% of the money we get in selling the internet voucher to pay taxes, and that money for people in Ciptaglar is quite huge and can be allocated for other purposes. So this, I think we can discuss, like how we can provide firstly legal, comply with existing law and regulations. Secondly, affordable, because as you probably notice, not only the needs to have internet access are not only in Java Island, but in Java Island is the most cheapest internet access that we have. Outside Java Island, maybe in Papua, maybe in Maluku, maybe in West Kalimantan, the cost to have internet access is quite expensive. To have a stable internet access during rural ICT camp, we have to pay around 40 millions just to get a stable bandwidth, so we can do video conference here from Bali and other part of Indonesia. So that is quite expensive. Yeah, for 14, not 40, 14, 14 juta, 14 juta for a week, ya, 1 week 14 million hanya buat gini-ginian, bos. Gila ya, ini luar Jawa nih, hanya untuk dapat kualitas internet yang sama seperti yang kita dapat di Bandung. So affordable internet is still an issue, especially for those who are living and work outside Java. So for the next, I think we're going to have a special session. We're going to open like a brief demonstration or a presentation of local internet. Pak Ono, can you hear us from here?
Yes,
Mudah-mudahan bisa dengar ya Pak Ono.
No problem.
Pak Ono, ini kita pengen dengar pendapat Pak Ono. Ini kita udah we already open our discussions the on the framework of policy and regulations. There are actually already specific policies that regulate and navigate how we can provide internet access for rural areas. But of course, to have affordable internet access for people in rural areas and remote places are still a challenge. Like for us in Bali, for example, to organize rural ICT camp, we have to pay certain amounts of money, like 14 million rupiah, just to have a high bandwidth access that are enough for us to communicate with other people in other island only for 7 weeks. So kalau 14 juta berarti sehari berapa ya itu ya? 2 juta, gila ya itu buat kalau misalnya buat jajan ke Dondong lumayan. Oke, Pak Ono, we would like to hear some of your feedback and reflection. What is affordable internet is all about, and what is local internet that can be to this. Oke, Pak Ono.
Thank you. Terima kasih. Thank you, terima kasih. Pak Malik and Pak Andri Johari, are you guys ready? I think they are ready. Okay. First, I like to underline my point. Okay. The way of thinking, the mindset. If we talk about internet, it will be expensive, and we need license. We need permission. We need to pay tax. We need to put a lot of money if it is internet. If it is not internet, oh, okay, Andri Johari, thank you very much. If it is not internet, if it is intranet, not internet, but intranet, you don't need license, you don't have to pay a lot of money. Basically, you don't need to ask permission for the government, and we are stronger than the government actually if it is intranet. Okay, so my first point, if we need to focus on the intranet because it's no license, no regulations, is free, is merdeka, is berdaulat, and we are having more bargaining position power than internet. Internet is expensive, less bargaining position. What we are looking at, Andri Johari or Malik, would you like to say about these things, or I need to say something? Oke. Ya, Andri aja deh. Andri, lu yang cerita lah, Andri. Nanti so Andri will tell about this for the first round, and then after that I will add more info. Silakan, Andri.
Technical.
Very technical. If possible, kalau bisa kasih lihat ininya, barangnya seperti apa?
Barangnya
susah ya.
Barangnya dimatiin dulu ya Pak, masalahnya ada di belakang, dicabut aja.
Oh jangan dicabut, gila lu, jangan dicabut. Ya udah cerita aja deh barangnya seperti apa.
Ini adalah server lokal yang bisa diakses secara intranet. Jadi IP-nya itu 172, ini IP lokal. Dan ini servernya tidak menggunakan server yang kita pikirkan. Jadi kalau kita pikir server itu adalah barang yang besar, ini adalah sebuah USB yang langsung cukup dimasukkan ke dalam USB, di-connect. Kemudian di-run, dijalankan, langsung jalan menjadi server.
Oke, ini di komputer atau di apa nih sekarang?
Sekarang ada di komputer, Pak.
Komputernya apa?
Komputernya abal-abal.
Oke.
Freedom.
Apa?
Is freedom. Ini kebebasan, Pak.
Oh, sorry. Komputernya prosesornya apa? Kelas
prosesornya Intel Atom yang murah banget.
Oke. Oke. Harga berapa kira-kira?
1,5 juta, Pak.
Oke, 1,5 juta sudah jalan ya. Oke, lanjut silakan. Jadi modal flash disk aja. Flash disknya sekarang ada di satu ya. Buat teman-teman itu berapa giga yang itu ada flash disk berapa giga itu?
16 giga Pak.
16 giga. teman-teman kalau mau ngopi silahkan di copy ke Andri Johandri sama Pak Malik ya. Itu versi bisa di copy ya. Free, gratis. Terus kalau bayarnya pakai doa aja. Lanjut, Andri.
Di aplikasi ini teman-teman tidak perlu lagi repot untuk setting server karena sudah tersedia e-learning, alamat e-learningnya di Moodle. Jadi kalau mau masuk nanti ada diberikan passwordnya. Kemudian ada wiki di sini
masuk
juga.
aja deh, masuk coba masuk. Wiki cerita global dulu, bener ada wiki, oke terus.
Oke, ada wiki dan yang terakhir itu adalah perpustakaan. Jadi buku-buku sudah tersedia di sana.
Nah ini
jadi
buku,
tidak perlu lagi install.
Di download deh bukunya kasih lihat dulu.
Oke Pak, saya download salah satu pelajaran fisika.
Wes berat.
Cepat.
Lebih cepat daripada internet ya. Perhatiin, itu buku gede banget loh. Cepet tuh downloadnya, so kasih lihat biar pada nafsu. Download buku lagi yang lain, ini buku gede-gede loh, hati-hati. Coba lihat ada size-nya nggak sih? Ada berapa gede?
Ada size-nya di atas 19 mega. Kita
cari yang gede aja, yang gede.
22 Pak. Ada 38 mega Pak.
Ya 38 mega, coba kita lihat berapa cepat
downloadnya. Kita hitung dalam waktu ya Pak, 1, 2, 3. Oke.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12,
38 mega Pak.
38 mega dalam beberapa detik. Nggak sampai 1 menit udah ke download. Nah, silakan dilihat bukunya. Kencang saudara-saudara. Tidak usah bayar, ini pakai doa bayarnya, jangan khawatir. Dan ini bukunya tidak nyolong ya saudara-saudara. Kemarin saya dimarahin sama Bintang 2 di Lemhanas. Pono nyolong buku ya? Enggak, ini nggak nyolong, ini dari Diknas gratis. Mantap. Ini buku. Coba lihat, ini beres ya buku. Coba lihat inilah wiki. Ini Wikipedia. Coba kita search. Ini Bali deh, Bali. Ada nggak Bali? Ya enter. Klik aja Bali. Nah, jadi anak-anak bisa belajar ini ya. Diklik lagi apa aja diklik lah. Tembok ada nggak tembok? Saya pengen tahu. Tembok. Desa Tembok ada nggak? Kayaknya nggak ada sih. Ayan tuh Tembok Banjar itu, oh itu ya? Hah? Oh bener ada Ih keren. Oh keren ada kan. Silakan diklik lagi apa aja dah. Cari yang lucu-lucu. Kalau peserta mau ngasih saran boleh dah tuh. Mau nyari kotanya apa desanya atau apa boleh. Nggak ada. Pemalang. Oh jangan Ono Wipurbo, nggak ada, Ono mah nggak ada.
Oh, ada juga.
Oh, ada sialan tuh brengsek. Ya, udah. Jadi Wikipedia itu, nah ini saran aja buat teman-teman semua. Wikipedia ini dengan Wikipedia yang ada di internet sama, gitu. Artinya apa? Kalau kita pengen menyebarkan ilmu tentang desa kita, tentang tanaman, pertanian kita segala macam, silahkan ditulis di Wikipedia yang ada di internet yang besar. Nanti itu akan dikopi ke sini juga. Jadi semua ilmu yang ada di internet besar dikopi di dalam bentuk Wikipedia ke semua desa bisa. Caranya kayak gini sih. Gitu. Udah kebayang ya? Terus satu lagi yang e-learning. Passwordnya admin A besar. Oh ada. Oh oke. Dikasih tahu aja ya. Jadi passwordnya admin A besar, adminnya kecil semua admin, terus 123, terus tanda seru @pager nanti sama ini bisa. Nah ini jujur kita masuk ke soalnya aja, contoh soal itu yang tadi yang bahasa Indonesia ke dashboard apa kursusku ya boleh. Nah itu bisa diklik. Oke, kita bisa try out online. Ini try outnya diklik. So, bisa nggak lu jawab? Coba. Ini ada nggak? Lanjut perhatiin jauh terakhir coba. Nah, sok jawab. Jawabannya berapa tuh?
Pukul 4.30 Dini bangun dari tidurnya. Jawab bareng-bareng, woi. Jawabannya nomor berapa ini? Jawabannya?
Ada 15 soal. Dan ini waktunya kalau nggak salah 30 menit atau berapa lah lupa saya. Ya udah jawab sembarang aja lah.
Ya sembarangan Pak. B. Pengen tahu.
Selanjutnya Ini kebetulan bahasa
Bacalah.
Indonesia. Oke.
Pantun satu pesan. Ya, D.
Ya udah.
Tahu.
Ini pantun ya. Jawaban selanjutnya. Ini jawab sembarangan aja lah. Oke. Bisa selesai nggak? Caranya gimana buat selesai ya? Harus 15 biji harus dikerjain dulu semuanya ya.
Ya, Pak.
Ya pokoknya harus dikerjain. Jadi anak-anak bisa belajar online tanpa jadi tryout supaya anak-anak pinter tanpa perlu internet. Ini teh. Nah, ini sampai habis 15. Nah pertanyaannya bisa nggak kita bikin kayak gini buat kelas-kelas yang lain? Jawabannya bisa. Sok terus aja kalau nggak ini udah kebayang ya. Sekarang masuk ini deh, buka tab baru. Ini masuk ke internet nggak ini? Masuk kan?
Masuk bisa, Pak.
Masuk ke internet, buka tab baru lah internet. Kalau nggak bang soal. Klik bang soal, itu bawah, tengah, naik ke atas. Itu ada bang soal. Kanan. Ya, klik bang soal. Ya. Coba ini ada naik ke atas. Itu ada tulisan soal-soal. Nah, itu klik soal-soal. Oke. Ada kategori. Ya, klik kategori. Nah, oke. Kebawahin. Nah sebetulnya naikin ke atas biar ngasih lihat. Di situ ada, saya itu nggak dibikinin buat semua kelas, nggak ada waktu. Tapi sebenarnya kebawahin. Nah di situ ada bahasa Indonesia kelas 1 SD 4, 5, 6 udah ada 15 soal, 52 soal, 25 soal, 80 soal. IPA ada kelas 1, 3, 4, 6 SD ada. IPS ada 456, matematika kelas 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 SD ada semua matematika. PKN ada 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, SMA kelas 12 ada biologi, ekonomi, fisika dan sebagainya. Terus ke bawah matematika lebih parah lagi soalnya banyak banget. Terus ke bawah terus, ke bawah lagi. Ini SMP juga ada, bahasa Indonesia, bahasa Inggris segala macam ada. Cuman belum lengkap banget. Harapannya nanti teman-teman bisa bikin soal-soal ini, nanti kita bisa sharing soal supaya bisa siswa-siswa yang ada di desa, anak-anak muda di desa bisa belajar soal-soal ini biar pinter sih. Kebayang ya, kalau nanti pengen belajar cara bikin soalnya bisa diajarin. Tapi sebenarnya soalnya udah mulai disiapin, sebagian sudah mulai siapin. Contoh yang realnya bisa add plus itu di kanan, tab, buka tab baru kanan. Buka Tangsel Belajar dot Tangerang Selatan kota.go.id. Selatan, kenapa hilang? Ulang, tulis lagi ya. Tangsel Belajar Tangerang Selatan kota.go.id /Moodle DLE, enter. Ini contoh yang operasional beneran. Ini ada kelas 1 IPS, PKN segala macam, kelas 1, 2, 3 sampai kelas 12 ada lengkap di sini. Ini ngasih lihat aja. Dan ini inisiatif dari pemerintah Kota Tangerang Selatan supaya anak-anak di Tangerang Selatan bisa pinter, mereka bikin tryout online gratis. Nah sekarang gimana caranya supaya anak-anak ini nggak usah ngeluarin kuota, nggak usah bayar internet buat akses ini semua. Pemerintah Kota Tangerang Selatan bikin wifi gratis di kelurahan, kecamatan supaya anak-anak bisa pakai wifi lokal tadi, bisa akses ke sini. Jadi selain kita bisa akses lewat internet, lewat wifi lokal juga mereka bisa akses ke tryout online ini gratis. Jadi kalau boleh disarankan, kalau ini levelnya udah level kota ya, bukan desa lagi. Bayangkan level kota aja berpikirnya seperti itu. Dia berusaha supaya bikin internetnya pakai intranet, bukan pakai internet. Kesalahan fatal kita adalah kita berusaha bikin internet. Itu yang bikin kacau semuanya, jadi mahal, jadi harus pakai izin lah apa segala macam. Sebetulnya kalau kita pakai internet, intranet, itu semua nggak ada sih. Ini contohnya bisa Anda lihat dari pemerintah kota aja Tangerang Selatan, dia bikinnya intranet bukan internet, dan dia bikin seperti ini. Kalau kita ganti mode, buka tab baru lagi, coba Tangerang Selatan kota itu sama Tangsel Belajar dulu, Tangsel Belajar Tangsel belajar, Tangsel belajar, Tangerang Selatan kota.go.id. Slash modelnya, slashnya diganti jadi, ya modelnya diganti jadi lupa pustaka kali. Pustaka, enter. Oh salah, pendidikan. Pustakanya diganti pendidikan. Pendidikan. Akses. Nah, kok coba ganti modelnya. Oh, berarti bukan. Coba ganti library. Pustaka dulu. Oke. Coba pendidikan. Pendidikan. Masuk. Itu ada BSE. Ini lebih lengkap daripada yang 16 GB. Ini ada SD, SMP, SMA, buku-bukunya bisa di-download semua sih. Ya banyak lah.
Oke, Pak Ono.
Yes.
I think we can continue with the discussions.
Okay.
We somehow
Yes.
get the ideas that intranet versus internet. Affordable internet and free access to intranet.
Yeah.
And I think this can be seen as an alternative practices, how we deal with expensive access to connectivity.
Yeah.
Do you think this kind of practice will be regulated also in the future?
No. Okay. The point for regulator is very simple. If it is commercial service, then regulator normally will try to regulate. If it is for education, for human resource empowerment, it is non-commercial, normally regulator doesn't want to regulate those things. If it is commercial,
does it will include basic services like for village governments,
it can
services and so on?
Yeah, of course it can include like the I give you a real example di Tangerang Selatan Kota, they are trying to deploy 5G, and the first page will be shown in the 5G network will be the government page, and this will be free 5G network. Sorry ya.
Okay. So I will without further ado, I will forward the discussions to our co-moderators to navigate our discussions today.
Okay.
So Carlos, do you have any feedback, reflections, or any inputs that can enrich our discussion?
Hi. Well, thanks, Ibu Ida, Ivek, Ono.
Yes.
Thank you much for the presentations. At the end of the day, we are talking. I mean, this was a more technical solution. The other one was more a discussion about what we all know about the internet, how it can be done in a legal way, and how we can get funding for it. And at the end of the day, whether one solution or the other, if we are about local innovation and local needs, would be chosen by the community, no? And it's important that there are alternatives and options for the two of them. And I want to focus a bit more because also there are other people here like Carlos Baca, who I believe has been doing quite a lot of work on intranets for indigenous communities in Mexico, who maybe can comment a bit later on the presentation on intranets. And I think a very interesting discussion can take place around intranets altogether with different examples in different countries. So because my expertise is more on the other side of the things, I want to maybe focus some of the questions on some of the reflections on the presentation from Ida and Ivek. And maybe now that you are with us, Ono,
Yes.
a reflection also on everything that you did around 2.4 and 5 gigahertz back in the days, and how do you see, in a way, at the time Indonesia was the example for many others, right? And it allowed others to follow Indonesia, and Indonesia was proud of that liberalization of the spectrum. As far as I can see in the region, there is a lot of interest in general globally on community networks, but definitely Indonesia is ahead of the game. There is a lot of things that other countries in the region can learn from at least these 10 representatives from rural and remote areas of different islands in Indonesia are doing. And the Indonesian government could do something either around the village funds, around the universal service and access funds, around even the 5G spectrum that you were telling us about a couple of days ago. Do you think there is a space for making Indonesia sign, using that potential for the Indonesian government to sign regionally to assist with the policy advocacy that could be necessary to make this happen?
Okay, the mindset is very simple. The government, the Indonesian government need acknowledgement from the international community. Okay, so to have the acknowledgement, they have to become a hero on something. In this case, a hero in building community network. Okay, the Indonesian government need to become an example for others. What kind of policy they can set up so they can become a hero. That's from the Indonesian government point of view. From the Indonesian community network point of view, I like to suggest more brutal approach. Sorry, this is brutal approach. For example, like this: if the community depends on the government fund, the community will be under the pressure or under the repression. Sorry, that's very strong words of the government. The bargaining position of the community is lower than the government. Government will be higher, or the operator will be higher position than the community. So my proposal is like this. All the thing that showed by Malik, by Andri Johandi is very, very cheap. Is very affordable. Every single village, every single community in Indonesia can build that kind of approach very easy. Like $100, $200 is affordable. They can build their own network locally. It means they actually do not depend on the government or the operator. That way, the community is actually maybe have higher bargaining position. That's what I'm looking for. If we are higher bargaining position, then the government must follow the community needs or community way of thinking to accept our approach. Otherwise, we will have a big conflict between the community and government and the operator. So what I like to propose is we try to increase the bargaining position of the community, so we can we can make the regulation to become more pro people. Okay, not pro the operator, not pro the one that making money. So that's basically my point. So there is a big prospect, but what I like the prospect that more pro people, pro community. To get that kind of prospect, I like to propose we can increase the community bargaining position by reducing the dependence of the community from money and regulation from other entity.
Okay, pro people or human approach or human-centered approach policy making. I think that is something that is very important in the sense how to provide affordable internet, how to provide more open access to technology, more access to knowledge, and in that sense, we need to empower the community in order to have more.
Basically increasing the bargaining position of the people to the government.
Okay.
So we are not under the government, but we are over the government.
Okay.
Sorry, brutal. Sorry. Otherwise,
Oh.
they will, yeah, always hit us.
Okay, I think is there any view from here in the room, because we have Carlos Baca
From
and
Mexico. Yeah, I like to hear what happened in
yeah,
Mexico.
Baca, you have something to share with us?
Well, I have a lot of ideas coming to my mind now, but I want to share a part of two about what I listen and what have I've been seeing in these days. And one of it is we have a lot of similarities. We are very similar in different approaches. We in Mexico like to think the same way that Ono says, that it is important to, in the practice, change the things with the people in the community, and then the regulation needs to change.
Yes.
Not thinking that the important thing is to change the regulation and then everything was well, and
Exactly.
we have a very beautiful community networks around
Yeah,
the. So this is the experience we had with for example, with the GSM network in Oaxaca, in Mexico. We have a mobile network. It is the only one in the world that operates right now with this 2G generation, and now we are moving to 4G. Sorry, because
Is
we
this
have
community network? Is your mobile network is community network or commercial operator network?
no, it's a community network.
Community network. Oh, okay.
Yes, yes. It is composed by one organization.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. One big organization who is made by 17 communities.
Wow. Okay.
Who operates their own mobile network.
Which frequency are you
like
using?
a little like a small operators. I'm sorry.
What frequency are you using?
Sorry?
The frequency? Frequency?
850 megahertz.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's a licensed one, and we are the fourth operator in Mexico. We have Telcel, that it is the biggest one, from Carlos Slim, then Telefónica from Spain, and AT&T from the United States, and also Telecomunicaciones Indígenas Comunitarias, that it is this operator. So
Okay.
we have this experience, and we started not from the law, not waiting that the law changes, but we started making possible in the communities the network, and
Then
so
you
the
changed the
government
law.
need to react to that, and now they say that they support us a lot, and they are very happy with what happened with this example. But we started from the practice, not from the changing of the law. I don't know if you want
Agree.
to.
Very good.
Jadi ini kalau kasus di Meksiko, so the way bagaimana teman-teman di Meksiko mengembangkan internet komunitas itu sebetulnya berawal dari gerakan komunitas itu sendiri, bukan dari perubahan kebijakan.
Aturan, bukan. Memang
Jadi
yang
yang benar itu ya.
Iya.
Itu yang brutal ya Pak ya.
Brutal. Jadi we have three options. We play with power, we play with money, or we play with people. We have no power, we have no money, so we play with people. We use the third option, people power. That's more powerful
Okay.
than regulation and money.
Okay, so Ramon, do you have something to say about this?
I like it very much, that example. And when you mention regulation pro people, and also, yeah, probably the most valuable asset that is needed for build whatever, not only telecommunication infrastructure, is not the money, is the people and their time, their skills, and it's actually the challenge is to provide to bring the value where sometimes very often when talking about business models and everything, people think in money, and actually the most valuable asset is not going to the bank and get a loan, but to mobilize the brains of the people that are already there, and there we can be very rich in those terms, the people itself. But so I like very much this language. I'm very happy to be here with you and hearing those those perspectives. But at the same time, I got some concerns in one of the things that I would like to share with you and see what do you think on those, on the relation, for instance. It's a bigger step forward also to get access to the universal access fundings and so on. But when we are hearing, because we had some bad experiences on that idea about, okay, let's allow the when you were mentioning about opportunities, okay, let's allow us what you were calling special operators in those areas when there is no interest from the commercial ones. I think it's very the intention, of course, is very well, but at least as well it will become somehow a trap, depending on how. And I don't know if you have thought about that. I mean, because okay, if for being allowed to let's say exist somehow or be recognized, it is required that there is no commercial interest. What happens is suddenly the commercial interest operators change their mind, and they say, no, we are interested in going there.
Yeah, because they see the
Happen at
market.
your house.
Yeah.
So what we have to resign and then stop our operations because they have the first choice of which territory they can go for or not. So have you think it could be, or it is managed in a way that will not happen? Also, the same when I understand perfectly that concept that okay, a way to avoid the problems of regulation and so on is, okay, let's build intranets instead of internet. Of course, I mean it's a trick that works, but we somehow how we cannot or try to avoid to give up to surrender and give the internet in hands of either the governments of the big corporations, and we as people be out of it. So how to solve that? And that's what the questions that I would like to advise and get your comments. But thank you very much for all this discussion, and I'm very happy of being here now.
Thank you, Ramon. You still have something to say, Carlos? Okay, maybe briefly. Yeah?
Yes, that we have so we get a very good regulation, no? In the Constitution, it's all beautiful because you have different types of license for communities that they are not indigenous, for indigenous communities, but you need to also make a lot of effort to change minds in the people in the government. So we have this big problem with the taxes, because one or two people in the Hacienda, that it is the tax revenue authority, they don't believe that they think that we need to pay the same amount of taxes that the big operators. So we get to trial, we get a lot of the things confiscated, no? And in this process, we go to the Supreme Court of Mexico. So the Supreme Court in Mexico say that what you were saying in the opportunities, that the communities, if there is not other chances to connect the communities and they have the right to get connected, so the state needs to provide them. So you have an instrument as a good example from the Supreme Court in Mexico, who are saying you need to provide all the environment necessary for the indigenous communities get connected. So the state need to do everything that is in their chances, and one of these is to make possible for the community network not to pay taxes as other kind of operator.
Okay, thank you. So tax policy is one thing that we need to advocate as well. And okay, actually now it's already 6:30. For some of you need to take Maghrib, the praying, you might do so, but we will continue our discussions because it's getting hot now. Our maybe our participants from western part of Indonesia maybe still have also the time to continue our discussion. So I think policy in telecommunication service is one thing, tax policy is another thing, and I think people power and people ability to build their own telecommunication infrastructure is one thing that we need to support somehow in order to bring further development of community networks in the future. We also would like to hear more from participant here. Shalini, you have something to say? And actually in the online, we have Pak Puji and also Abah Ugi Sugriana, the chief leader of Ciptagelar Indigenous Community. Abah Ugi, apakah bisa mendengar suara kami di sini? Mudah-mudahan bisa ya, Abah Ugi ya.
Ada bagus Kang.
Siap.
Konten ke sadayana, Pak Ono, Om Jo, sadayana anu tos hadir.
Sampurasun.
Aturan. Rampes.
Sip.
Okay, so Abah Ugi from West Java is also joining us.
Amazing.
So Abah Ugi mungkin disampaikan secara singkat. So after this, Abah Ugi secara singkat, internet yang murah untuk warga adat kumaha menurut Abah Ugi? Apakah warga adat perlu akses internet murah? Kan sekarang internet di Ciptagelar mah sudah ada tapi pajaknya mahalnya banyak. Menurut Abah kumaha ya internet murah ya Bah?
Raras tadi nguping di sadayana kenaan intranet sareng internet karasan untuk di Kasepuan Ciptagelar walaupun ya masih mahal tapi alhamdulillah udah bisa menikmati jaringan intranet walaupun ya istilahnya perjuangan anak rada panjang tapi ya kanggo ayeuna panginten anu tadi atos didugikeun ku Pak Ono ya eta upami direalisasikeun kanggo intranet kanggo sakola-sakola anu aya di Kasepuhan eta cocok pisan kararesan kanggo ayeuna mah panginten jaringan anu di 5 desa alhamdulillah terus kabangun ya kapayuna mudah-mudahan tiasa langkung nyebar deh kanggo ka warga sadayana. Kirang langkung sapertos gitu Kang, gerilya terus, ngereuyeuh terus, nikreuh terus.
Siap Abah. So Abah Ugi he is the chief leader of indigenous community in Ciptagelar, already built local infrastructure that connect and provide service in around 5 villages in Ciptagelar. Thank you for your hatur nuhun Abah. So Shalini, we would like to hear for some of your experience in India.
Yeah. If I may, Shalini, before you go, if so there is something just maybe to contextualize. You tell everything you want about your experience, but something to contextualize. The very same fact of reselling implies that there is something to resell. That means that you have some sort of an internet connectivity close by from someone that then you can resell. What happens if that connectivity is not there? What happens if, and I think Shalini and Cervelots in particular have a very particular experience about how to get to the internet and bring it home when the reseller is far away and they cannot resell anything because there is nothing to resell.
Okay, thank you. Most of the things Carlos has like contextualized it properly. So what we have a community network called CowMesh, community owned wireless mesh network is what we call. So we started as long back. Our main interest of starting the community was like intranet services, not internet based. There was many challenges why we never considered internet because in 2013-14 was the time when we had started and there was only 2G services available and our area is the valley area under the mountain, the villages are there. So laying wires, all these things were very difficult during that time. We had brought ISP providers who can look into it, like whether can you like put something in, can you bring some services. But like they simply refused because they didn't have enough users from there so their business will not run. So there were a lot of things like cables were like impossible to do it. So our main thing was intranet. We will build our own internet model. Like we don't want anyone. So the challenges in the intranet server, we procured our own devices, the cost effective, because we didn't have the big budget also that time, like the not many funding. So whatever the routers that we could afford, we bought it. We made our own services, built our own. The challenge in making an intranet model is like you have to build your own data, your own content, basically everything, your own services. So we started working on it, and like we built. So it happened. Then APC happened to us, like luckily that. Then again we continued looking at the intranet model itself, building the knowledge bank. We went to communities, like contribute to it. Many things like that. Like we found developers, a lot of things like that. But then when COVID hit, then there was a necessity to bring internet into it, because we could see like how the rural schools were affected. There were a lot of people working from home, had to work from home had started, and like a lot of people had come back to the villages and they didn't know how to connect to it. So then we had to like look for it, actively look for like who can give us the internet lines. So we had to bring from 20 kilometers away the main city through wireless. We had to like bring the broadband into it. So there's a particular line, I think, I don't know if in other countries, if along the railway lines they lay these fibers. So we found out that service providers who luckily like from where we can broadcast to the village through the wireless atop of the tall building, he agreed to it, and we got some whatever the data bandwidth they had with them, we got the service to our village and started distributing free. We are not the ISP providers, but like we are buying it and giving it to the people for free. That is what we did it. And then like the challenge again, like how do we monitor this internet again, like because if one person uses it, all the data will go off to that. So the monitoring was also important for us, and we didn't want to like strictly say like you don't use it, you don't use it. We want, because it's a free Wi-Fi that we are giving, how do we like bring active community participation so that it's meaningfully like use the internet services, and we build our knowledge bank as well. So we introduce activities to them, like if you do certain things like barter systems, if you like bring vegetables for this old woman in the village, then I'll give you like some 10 MB of data, or like the password based systems we had, so I'll give you the password and have a control on it. Like. So this barter systems we included, and then we introduced small activities in the village, like a lot of youngsters to participate, because that was very important for us. Like they know a lot of things and they can do a lot of things, and because they had like come back to their village, they didn't know what to do, but like they all wanted everything, whatever is available, everything they wanted. So we started introducing youngsters, and like started livelihood activities in our village, the craft activities that was affected in COVID, which was but like we had to reintroduce craft in a different way so that the women from the community was benefited, and through that like it helped maintaining our network also, because the whole setup is a free service for them and maintenance is very much required. And we brought in women, like introducing livelihoods and things that we did, and a lot of like outside local school people like who were interested in the rural village, so how they build services and bring back data, not data, like the content and biodiversity, local resources what are available around us. So through that we started building the knowledge bank. Now, so we were doing all this in the physical activity, physically doing the workshops, But now we want to convert into a digital space where we can sell the vouchers. Selling is not like we are giving selling internet vouchers, but introducing education through these vouchers. So we will introduce, like, can you identify this tree, or like, can you solve this math problem, or can you like do something. So that data we will collect and we will give a voucher to them. So let them use the internet in whatever way they want, but it's not like big internet for them, like a data that we are giving, but like education introduced in this captive portal format is what we are trying to do. Thank you.
Okay, very interesting approach ya, how intranet and internet services in local context somehow require very strong community engagement and participation, and building that is more harder to build the internet itself, yeah. And okay, so I think we can also continue with our discussions in more broader context.
Yeah, so before we go to Pak Puji, one question maybe to the collective intelligence, because even if it's intranet or internet, and if we go through this idea of at some point we are going to want to connect to the internet, reselling it or not, is the question of where is the internet? Where is that point of presence, in this case Railtel in India, that is 20 kilometers away? I mean, what are those GPS coordinates of that point of presence in the fiber that will allow us to know how much or how difficult it is for us to get there, right? Some colleague of ours, Steve Song, who some of you know, have been working quite a lot in this Open Telecommunications Data Initiative that is about engaging with operators to publish in open data formats their point of presence, because it would be much easier to design your network if you know where is that wholesale internet service provider, right? Is there something like that in Indonesia? How is there a map? I mean, oh no, you map everything. I mean, your wiki the other day amazed me. Is there something like that? I mean, is there public knowledge available about where is the closest point of presence to the internet for any given community or for any given desa who wants to connect or extend the internet from a given point? I think that's a interesting point as well.
Oke, mungkin Pak Ono atau dari sekolah internet komunitas Malik, Mbak Erni nggak ada ya? Oke.
Malik, Mbak Erni aja dah, jangan Ono.
Ono, kalau untuk point of presence ini kita banyak caranya ya, kalau untuk di Indonesia ya. Oke, maybe the time is yours, Pak Ono.
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, I like to highlight Pak Ramon point first. It's very true. It's very dangerous when the market grows up. If the operators show the market, that's happened in cyber cafe. In 2000, we struggle to educate the Indonesian using cyber cafe, and then the market grows, and then the operator take over the market. So it's very dangerous. So, and then we lose basically. So if the internet community wants to survive, I think we need to make sure if the market grows, we make what's that, fence. So the market will be majority owned by the community. Otherwise, the community will gone, and everything will be exploited economically. And that's also my concern. Okay, I hope we can build some sort of fence so it will be safe. Now, regarding the point of presence or point of contact, it's very easy. Oh, wow. I'm not allowed to share screen.
Operator, maybe you can open access to Pak Ono.
Share screen? No, not yet. Okay, basically we have maps for fiber optics as well as map for cellular network. So yes, we have those maps. Fiber optics is submarine cable submarinecablemap.com. We can see the fiber optics maps. Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, so let me go to this one. Submarine cable map. Okay, this one. So we can see the fiber all over the world, including Indonesia. And the other one is the NPerf I showed you yesterday. NPerf. So yes, we have those maps. And then the other maps is friends. The Indonesian is very common to ask for friends. Friend, do you have access to the internet? Can I join you? That's very powerful. Okay, this is the map I showed you yesterday, I think. So you can already tell the map. This is the network. So you can, from your coordinate, you can tell which is the closest network. But from the submarine cable map, okay, this one. We can tell. Let me show. Can I zoom in? Okay, I can zoom in. For example, the Eastern Indonesia, we have this network. Okay, I click this network. Can I click this one? Oops, I cannot click. Normally I can click. Let me see if I can click. Okay, this one. See, it will tell you the owner, and from the owner we can trace into how we can contact and so on. So yes, it's not that difficult to.
Is it cover until the
cover? What do you mean?
Regional level, Pak Ono?
Regional level, it's international level.
Oh, that one
This is all over the world, the whole world level. But we are lucky in Indonesia because we are lots of island, lots of sea, so the cable is not far away from the land. So the cable network is not far away. Unlike, for example, Australia, for land network is more difficult. We are quite lucky for Indonesians. So okay. I hope that's answered a little bit. Back to you, Pak Gustav.
Okay. So, is there anyone who want to put some remarks on this? I think it's quite broad discussions that we have today, yeah, from policy, practices, alternative approaches to finances, and we also actually have Pak Puji.
Yes, I've been very patiently listening.
Okay, Pak Puji, hopefully you can hear us from afar. Maybe you can also give some remarks from the standpoint of ITU.
Sure.
How, in terms of policy and regulations in providing internet access to the last miles, especially for the underserved area. Okay, maybe you can you can put some remarks on that.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I would like to congratulate you and colleagues for organizing the Rural ICT Camp and bringing colleagues from all over the world, and more importantly, having Professor Ono Purbo here on board. That's quite a treat. Congratulations for that. Now, first of all, it's really, I think it's heartwarming to see how colleagues have been doing their best on the ground, given all the constraints and limitations, but also in the context of progress being made in Indonesia quite tremendously on the communication. Now, on the part of ITU, talking about being very broad and not very specific, of course, our commitment is to connect everybody to the internet, right? That's the whole point of having the internet as a development asset. And in that regard, ITU is exerting its convening forums, the government, with business and all, and then engaging with colleagues like Carlos from APF and others to discuss all the possible means and ways to connect communities to the internet. To be rather specific, the newest development that we have, and Pak Ono must also have noted this, in Rwanda, in Kigali, in June, one of the resolutions that came out from Rwanda was that we need to develop more diligently indicators to determine where the communities are connected and how. This is a very important part. At the end of the day, all the arrangements will seek to make sure that everybody have access to the internet anyway. And in that regard, in the G20, this was also further highlighted, where Indonesia was the president for the Digital Economy Working Group, that all kind of connectivity measures need to be exerted to make sure that connectivity becomes a determining factor and supporting factor for pandemic recovery and catching up with the SDGs. Now, in other conversation, Kang Gustaf, we're talking about the last mile connectivity. About 3 weeks ago, we did a training on last mile connectivity, including colleagues from the business, from Kominfo and others.
Orang nggak ada lagi.
And then I think I will not take much time on that. I just would like to highlight what was raised by Carlos just now with regard to the presence on the ground. Carlos, I think you noticed from my presentation the other day that in the case of Indonesia, we promoted the interactive map for school connectivity. And I would like to draw the analogy that the same could be done with rural connectivity. What happened is that we utilize ITU databases, which uniquely involves the private sector and other operators and so on, to determine the telecommunication networks in Indonesia, where the presence, where the points, where the submarine cable and all that. That's and on the supply side. Now on the demand side, we invited Ministry of Education to provide the school data, which is the physical presence of the school, and supposedly also the internet capacity, and maybe along the way with the intranet capacity, as Pak Ono was mentioning. Now, if we replace variable of school with villages, then most likely we should be able to assist the mapping of the presence of connectivity at the rural level. And on the basis of that databases, now this is the interesting part. The interactive map will definitely, at least in my mind, assist the decision makers and policy makers to determine which area are dense, which area are moderately connected, and which area are not connected. I think we already know from the government of Indonesia that about 15,000 villages or some sort are yet to be connected one way or another. I think that interactive mapping could be one way to look at. And I really like to carry forward this conversation with Kang Gustaf and others. How can we go to potentially interactive mapping on the presence of internet on the community? Beyond that, ITU is here to work with you. We stand by to support in whichever way we can. And we're open to discussing further on adopting a lot of the training materials, standards, and new technologies as appropriate to Indonesia. Kang Gustaf, I hope that just wrap up the general sense of the meeting. Over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Puji, for your remarks. I think, yeah, the map and the open knowledge on access of internet, especially in rural areas and remote places, would be very important in order to know more what is really happens on the ground. But we haven't heard anything from the participants of School of Community Network here. I think we would like to hear more of some of more your experience learning and working on the ground to develop local internet infrastructure. What is the struggle? What is the challenges? Do you have anything to share? Like maybe Bang Mihram or maybe Ibu Sri? What is your biggest challenges to provide internet access or services in Lombok, for example? Apart from technicalities, Do you have anything to say? Like ada sesuatu yang mau disampaikan? Tantangan terbesar Ibu Sri saat mengembangkan aktivitas di Lombok Utara itu apa ya sebetulnya untuk bisa mendapatkan akses dan memanfaatkan teknologi? Ibu Sarayah mungkin mau menyampaikan sesuatu? Ya, ada hambatan atau tantangan atau mungkin
Baik, selamat malam. Jika berbicara soal tantangan, memang di dalam setiap program yang dilakukan itu nihil kalau tidak ada tantangan. Jadi tantangan yang kami rasakan fokus pada kelompok Udang Fename ini adalah pertama itu soal SDM kami sebenarnya, di mana kita kelompok Udang Fename lagi-lagi saya informasikan bahwa mereka berasal dari kelompok perempuan akar rumput yang memang dari segi pendidikan pun maksimal SMA. Itu mungkin menjadi salah satu tantangan. Kemudian kedua, teknik pengelolaan budidaya udang Fename berbasis IoT ini merupakan hal yang baru sekali terdengar di Lombok Utara, sehingga ketika kami ingin mengadvokasikan hal tersebut, kami sudah beberapa kali coba diskusi dengan pemerintah, baik itu pemerintah desa ataupun pemerintah kabupaten. Jadi untuk memberikan pemahaman itu juga kami harus butuh kapasitas yang lebih gitu, terkait dengan bagaimana kemudian memberikan pemahaman tentang manfaat dari IoT ini. Itu sih tantangannya adalah SDM, kemudian sebenarnya bukan kurang dukungan dari pemerintah. Pemerintah hanya belum paham saja sih terkait dengan teknik budidaya udang Fename berbasis IoT ini. Terima kasih.
Oke, terima kasih Ibu Sri. So Ibu Sri is sharing us a bit of her experience in adoptions of IoT technology in order to help the smallholder women fishermen, especially to cultivate shrimp. And one thing that is very important for her is that about the capacity building for fishermen community is one of the biggest challenge, because it is certainly the technical and skills, including the knowledge, are need to be developed, and to develop the knowledge is really hard process. Secondly, not because local government doesn't give any support, but because the technology is new, sometimes it is really need to have a big effort to explain and make the government understand what is the community network is all about, what is IoT technology is all about, and what is benefit that can have if we deploy such technology and help the local smallholder farmer. So that is the thing that are being reflected by Ibu Sri from her experience. So I think in terms of to have more community engagement and people participations, basically it's not the software, it's not the technology, it's not the hardware, but mostly community networks has to deal with people, have to deal with community engagement, have to deal with each individual in community, and that is one of the thing. Like it, I think it amplify what we have also discussed yesterday, that community network is not about technology, but also about the network of people. So, is there Ibu Ida atau Kang Ibek, do you still have something to say on this? Sudah cukup ya. Oke, rekan-rekan di peserta. So is there anyone from Zoom room want to add something in our discussions? We are about to end our session. It's almost 7 here and probably 6 in West Java. Baka, you still have something to say? Okay, right.
Maybe I just want to finish with my second point. The last one was the first idea I have, and the second one is just related what you just say, no? That in our experience, we have been used as different technologies, a lot of different technologies, because we think that we need to stop thinking about connectivity and more start thinking about communication needs, no? So the communities have a lot of different communication needs, and the technologies can be as a tool for that. But this is a really moving, change the brain to locate it another place, because you know, all of us have this idea that the most important thing is to have access to internet. So the example of Severlot, the example of the intranets here, the example of the use of GSM, but also we have developed a lot of intranets in Mexico too. And also right now we are working in an old technology, high frequency radio, that it is very useful in some contexts when the communities are very far between each other to attend emergency needs, etc. So my last invitation is that is start thinking about communication strategies and then thinking the technologies. And what I seems when I saw in this school is that you are doing in this way. So yeah, I just want to highlight that the different projects in each of the 10 micro-organizations who are working in this school are in this sense, no? Because you are using this technology to do that. So we are, I think we are in the good way, and also have partnership, for example, with the ITU. No, it's very important because in the community it's important to say that the ITU are with us too. So so yes, everything I think in a good way, but maybe changing the way with all people, with all actors, and start thinking in communication less than connectivity, make the things goes better. I think.
Okay, thank you, Baka. So I think it's already 7 now, and maybe 6 in western part of Java. Okay. Yeah, there is a hand from British Council, like.
Hello, this is me,
Okay.
Staff. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I just want to add on the various notes that has presented by different organizations, and also by Pak Ono, by IPU and others, that I think infrastructures is something that was already discussed. But I think in policy space, I think the literacy is something that we have. We make sure that no one is left behind. We understand from the COVID situations that we had learning loss because of the inability to with technology, and I think for us in the SIDP, we are in the skills for inclusive digital participations. We are doing this in can learn is that when we provide digital literacy to the most vulnerable groups, it helps them becoming more resilient for women, for disability, and also for young people, learners, so that they are able to catch up with the educations and the learning process that they have to understand. So I think the infrastructures and then follow up by the right digital literacy skills, especially paying attention to the most vulnerable groups. I think this should be included in the policy space. And also I think apart from having different projects, having a group of community of practice working in this space, working in the space of digital technology, like, or the community of practice of people who are sharing their knowledge about digital literacy at the village level, or at the rural level, very useful. we understand that the Indonesian government, for example, we have the national framework. However, the specific attention given to people with vulnerability for young learners, women, and also for people with disability is something that we have to, I think we have to catch up, and especially also in the area. This is evident from our work in 6 provinces, Maluku, Maluku Utara, Papua, West Papua, NTT, and also Sulawesi Selatan, that South Sulawesi, and also in Nigeria and Kenya, that women and young people, learners, and also people with disability are the least in terms of getting support on this. I would like to speak out loud on this so that no one is left behind in this space and in this policy making process. And on top of various initiatives and projects, let's aim to do or to have like a community of practice where people coming from different organizations, for example, can support each other in doing a number of things related to this. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Ari. I think this is a very important remarks that how community networks also acknowledge not only community but also minority group, vulnerability groups, people with disabilities, indigenous peoples, and so on. So I think apart from people-centered approach, pro-people policy, I think inclusivity and equity is part of the principles that we need to advocate. So in this regards, I think, yeah, I will close the discussions with temporary conclusions, because we have been touching quite broad and many different layers in our discussions. It will be quite challenging to frame out the discussions and to produce a certain recommendation from this. But I think there are a lot of notes that has been taken by Ibu Ida as well as Carlos and Kang Ibek. We will working on the recommendation from these discussions to be able to be this channel to both of our government and our partner organizations, both in local and international level. And hopefully from there we can amplify some of our concern and our interest to support further development of community network in order to provide more affordable and more inclusive internet access for everyone, both in local and global context. So thank you for everyone. Thank you for participations both online and offline, and hopefully we can keep on continue our discussions and our effort to provide sustainable and internet service for everyone. Thank you very much. Merdeka! You know what is of Merdeka in Indonesia? Freedom! Merdeka!